Hey guys, welcome back to the Pontoon Restoration series. This is part 6 of the series. Now last week we got the fence and all the furniture in place. This week we got to get the motor mounted, all the wiring done, and all the little things to make this thing a boat. Let's get going. I'm starting out by making some measurements for our power trim and tilt. Now this thing's pretty heavy, so I was able to use a jack stand to hold it in place until I could get some clamps on it. And with that clamped down, I made a few more measurements to make sure that it was center and level with our pontoon. Once that was all squared away, I went ahead and started to drill the holes. Once I got the holes drilled through the transom, I bolted it in place with 1/2-inch bolts. These bolts and nuts are pretty heavy duty, and it took quite a bit of torque to get them snugged up. With the bolts in place, it was time for putting the motor on. Now, I was looking to see if I could get some help lifting it in place. This motor weighs about 200 to 300 pounds, and I couldn't find anybody to help, so I thought of a way to get it mounted and put some ratchet straps on the frame, and then I just used the car jack to lift it in place, and it actually worked out really well. With the motor secured on the transom, I connected the steering cable. Then I went back to the helm and routed it through the gearbox. Next, I had to connect the throttle and shift linkages. Now these linkages were actually backwards from a regular motor because I'm sending them to the jet, so I just had to flip them over once I got into the gearbox. Next, it was time to run a bunch of wire for all the lights and accessories that I needed for the boat to run. The primary wiring being this old Yamaha wiring harness. Now, I had some hesitations about cutting this harness up, but I just cut the back part of it. And doing a little research, it turns out that all of the colored wires in the harness are identical across the board, whether it's Yamaha or Johnson, Evinrude, the different boat brands. So they're pretty standard in marine applications. Once you figure out the colors, you can run them to the right component. And I figured that out by putting a bunch of jumper wires on each color and then to the associated parts in the motor. Once I was confident of all the wires going in the right places, I gave her the key a turn. I was actually pretty shocked that this thing started right up on the first turn. Now, all I had done to it was sprayed the cylinders down with a little bit of fogging spray because it had sat so long, and it turned right over. So yeah, I was pretty happy with that. So I was putting all this together. This is getting kind of warm, and every once in a while I hear a little sizzle or something, and it was weird. I rechecked all the wiring over and over again. It turns out we had some water inside that relay. So we'll have to get a new relay. I'm going to dry out this weather pack connector, and yeah, but everything else is looking good. With the motor wiring all in place, it was a time to attach the steering arm to the steering linkage here. And that was kind of a tight fit, so it took a little bit of effort to get that in place. I hope you enjoyed this video so far. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. I really appreciate you guys watching. With the steering in place, the next thing I'm running is a main battery harness to the accessories. Now this is going to go to that little fuse, a little fuse panel inside the helm, and here you'll see I'm putting that a piece of wood for that fuse panel to sit. To mount that, I just put a block of marine grade plywood, glued it onto the fiberglass, and then held it in place with some screws. Next, I'm running all the wiring to my cup holders. Now, I had a lot more footage of this, but my phone overheated and I lost all of the video that I took, so I was a little bit disappointed. I wanted to show some of the close-ups here. I'm drilling holes through the side of the seats and down from the bottom and running the wires up and that. But yeah, I don't know how to recover the video. It said it was recording and then the phone just shut off because of the heat, so I'm pretty sure it's probably all gone. But after I got the wiring in place, the holes drilled, and the cup holders connected, it was time to put the clearance nav lights on, or the navigation lights. I'm not really sure which to call them, but you know, the red on the left and the green on the right. Now, I had got these from eBay. They were pretty cheap, and it was kind of evident once I started putting them on. I ended up cracking a little bit of the plastic when I was tightening them down. I'm not sure if these are gonna work yet or not. The wiring was pretty thin. Now, we'll see. We'll see next week if they turn on and look great. Otherwise, I might have to go back to plan B. But with all that wiring run, it was time to clean it all up. So that means that we have to go underneath the boat and put little connectors everywhere, just so the wires aren't just hanging all down everywhere. So with the wiring secured in place, next I went and attached the cleats, the tie-down cleats. Now, I wanted to keep these out of the way from being a trip hazard as well, but I didn't have a ton of room. It might be a little tight getting the rope on there, but overall I think it's gonna be okay. Next, I went to work on the helm. Now, I wanted to put a switch panel on for all of our accessory lighting and stuff that we're running, but I really didn't like any of the ones I found online, so I decided to build my own. That means I had to cut a hole in the helm and fit a panel and then drill out holes in that plate and put all my little switches. Now, when I ordered these, I neglected to see whether or not they came with pigtails to wire stuff up, and the connections on the back were so small I couldn't wire the stuff up, and it was the last night of my Sunday. It's getting dark out, so I got the wires on. I mean the switches in place and the panel in place how I think it's gonna go, but I didn't get to wire anything up, so I was a little bit disappointed with that. But I did prep all of the wires to be ready for when I get the new switch pigtails in place for next week. Well, we got quite a bit done this week. I am out of time for my weekend, but tune in next week and we'll get this thing on the water. Thanks for watching.